Hello guys, welcome to Sam's Coding, teaching kids to code. Good morning pupils. In today's lesson, we'll be doing the platformer game, a completed one. We started up this game using doing it in parts, and the first part we did was the scroller background with the sprites that looked like it was a line we drew scrolling by. Then next part was where we programmed the cat to be able to jump. So now putting everything together would have something like this. So let's go to full screen and play. I'll use the spacebar key to play this game. Jumps, comes back, and you can see there's a loss of life and there's a sound to it whenever I hit the obstacle, and you can see my score is also increasing as I jump. Yes, and once he loses all his life, it's a game over. Okay, so this is what we'll be creating today from start till finish. So let's get to it. I'll do the building from scratch 3, so I'll start from the beginning. So to start with, what we need to do, this platformer game is also called a scroller game, and is also called a scrolling jump game because it incorporates scrolling of the background and the jumping of the sprite. So what I want to code here first will be the background obstacle. Okay, so to do that, we start with the events tab. When flag is clicked, I just zoom in to make it bigger. When flag is clicked, what we want to do is to position our sprite. But before then, we even need to draw the sprite, the obstacle. So to do that, this code should be for the obstacle. To do that, I'll come here to choose a sprite. I'll now select paint. So I want to paint a sprite, a new sprite. I'll click on the line tool. I'll hold down shift on the keyboard, click and drag to draw. Okay, so I have this. See my outline. The outline of my line is 10, so that makes it thick enough. So after doing this, I want to create 5 of this. So this sprite will have 5 costumes. Now after drawing the first one, the next thing to do is to duplicate this. So I'll right click, duplicate it, and we have the next costume. The next costume should be shorter, so I'll click on the eraser tool and erase the top a bit, and there we go. I'll right click on this, I'll duplicate, I'll erase the top a bit. I'll right click on this, I'll duplicate, I'll erase the top a bit. I'll right click on this, I'll duplicate, and I'll erase the top a bit, like that. Okay, so here we go. We have 5 costumes for this sprite 2. Now we can see this is scratch 3. In scratch 3, your painted sprite will not appear until you click on convert to bitmap. So take note of that. I'll click convert to bitmap. You see it appears now. Next, convert to bitmap, it appears. Next, convert to bitmap, it appears. Next, convert to bitmap. So I'll do this for all the costumes that I've created. I'll convert them to bitmaps, and you see from here you can even drag it down. Okay, so it affects everything. So now that we are done painting our sprite, the next thing to do is to code our sprite. So come back to code here, and we start with when flag is clicked. After that, we want to create a position for this sprite. So where should it start from? When flag is clicked, we come to motion. Under motion, look for go to X, Y, and Z. Forgive me if I'm fast. This is a video. You can always pause it to listen carefully and do what you are working on, and you can also rewind to listen to anything you've missed. So here I'll use this. Go to X240, and I'll tell you why I'm using X240. Let's look at our X and Y grid. Don't forget that. So let me open up X and Y grid here. X and Y grid. So this is what you call your Cartesian plane in mathematics. It consists of the X and the Y axis, and the X and the Y axis are numbered, and X to the left side of the 0 will be minus. So that's why we have X here minus 240. Now from scratch here, the limit is 240. Here is 240, here is 240. Then for the vertical is 180 here, 180 here. So for the vertical, when you're going upwards, that's a positive. When you're coming down, that's a negative. For the X, when you're going to the right, that's a positive. When you're going to the left, that's a negative. Okay, so get familiar with this. That's why I'm using 240 in my code. So let's test this and see the effect. I'll click on the full screen, green flag. Okay, so it takes it to here, this part, X equals to 240 at this point, and then the height, I want it to come down a bit. I want it to touch the base of our stage. So let me tweak this code a bit. Let me use since this is 73, let me use 78 and see if that will give us the effect we want. Yeah, it comes down low enough. That's good. So in your own, when you're creating yours, this Y code may be slightly different, so watch out for it. The next thing I want to do is I want this sprite to glide across the screen. I want to make it glide. I'll use glide 1 second, this block of code 240, and you can see already it repeats my codes for the X and the Y axis is the same. Now let's test this to see how it is. I'll click my green flag. What happened? It's supposed to glide. Okay, I've seen the error. It says glide 1 second to 240 178. Now that's the same position. You're telling it to go to where it is already, so there will be no movement. So the change should be a minus. I want it to come all the way from the right all the way to the left until it gets to the end. So I'll use minus 240 there. And then let's test this code again. Full screen, green flag. Good, we see it glide, but if you observe, the gliding was very fast. So we can adjust our code here so that it just glides for 3 seconds. That will be a little delay so that the gliding will be slower. Good, I think I love what I see. If you don't like what you see, you can always adjust it to 5 seconds, make it slower. Now remember, we're doing game that will have levels. So this is level 1. Level 1 should be slow to some extent. So level 2, this should pick up and be faster. So just like the car racing game if you've played one before. So we have this. The next thing we want to do is to create a clone of this sprite, so that we have many of these obstacles scrolling by. So how do we create a clone of this sprite? We'll come to events again and choose when this flag is clicked. When flag is clicked, we want to choose create a clone. So look for create a clone. Create clone of myself. Good. And let's test that code out. Let's see how it works. Green flag. So it has created a clone. Good. Created a clone at this point, but the clone is not moving. We want the clone to also move. So what do we do to do? What do we do to create to make the clone to move? To add that effect of the clone moving, we'll have to copy this code, go to X and glide 3 seconds to X and Y position. We have to copy it to the clone itself. So when I start as clone, right click here to duplicate, right click to duplicate, bring that code and add here. So when I start as clone, as a clone 2, I'll glide and do all this. Okay, so let's test it now. Green flag. Where's the clone? Oh, I think the clone moved at the same time with the original sprite, so that's why we didn't see the clone. So now we need to introduce a delay. Introducing a delay is where we add the wait 1 second and all that. So I'll add wait 1 second here, wait 1 second to this before creating a clone. So it should allow the sprite to glide all the way before creating a clone. And I don't even want 1 second. I want it to delay for 2 seconds. So let's test our code now and see. Good. So the clone is created and the clone slides across the screen as well. Let me test it one more time. So this one gets to the end, this one is created and also gets to the end. Okay, so we have 2 already. If we want this to continue repeating, then what do? Class, we add the forever block. So let the forever block swallow everything. Okay, like that. So let's test that to see if it will be a continuous one. Good. Yeah, this is lovely so far. Everything is working well so far. But if you notice, there is no randomization. What do I mean by randomization? We had different costumes for these sprites, if you recall. Sprite 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But every time it creates a clone, the same sprite passes. So how can we randomize it? We need to add that. And also, we also need to delete the clone from the screen. For the original clone here, we are going to add the show and the hide code. So on the looks, we have show at the beginning. This should show, it should appear. I'll move this down a bit, and then at the end it should hide. After having the show and hide, let's test this code to see. Good. Original hides, but the clone doesn't hide. Okay, so how do we make the clone hide? In order to make the clone hide, we would use the code which says delete this clone. So we'll add this at the end, and at the beginning we need to use show the clone. So show will be added here, and let's get the full screen and test this. Let's start again. Original hides, clone hides or deletes. Good. So the next thing we want to do is, we can see that it's not randomized, like the sprites that appear here are the same height, whereas we had sprites 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which were all different heights. So let's randomize this by adding this code. Now to randomize, we'll switch to costume, and instead of costume 5 or selecting a particular costume, we'll come and randomize by selecting a random costume. Pick random from 1 to 10, and we don't have up to 10 costumes rather, so we'll use 1 to 5 since we have 5 costumes. So let's test this code to see. So different heights now. Good, being randomized, and we're done here. It's finished. Great. Now that we're done with coding our obstacles, the next thing to code will be to code this sprite. Okay, so let's go ahead to code this sprite. Now, the activity we want this sprite to do is, we want it to have a starting point. So when the game starts, you probably want the sprite to be in this location. So I'll drag it to the location I want it to be, and I'll start with when this flag is clicked. When green flag is clicked, you should go to a particular location. So Once I've set the location here, I'll move this my go to and place it here, so I don't need to change that again. Now with that, the next thing I want to do is I want to create the ability for this sprite to jump and then to come back down. And to do that, I'll use I'll give a condition when the key is pressed. So I'll use if and I'm looking at a particular key being pressed, so I'll use the sensing when the spacebar key is pressed. So I'll click this and I'll choose the spacebar. Yes, when it is pressed, what do you want to happen? I want the Y position to change and the X position, the Y position to change. So change Y by, and I'll just test the particular figure. Let's say 100. Now let's test this to see what we have so far. Full screen, green flag. Oh, okay, green flag. Space key. I've depressed the space key. Why is it not jumping? Let me continue to add the next one. After changing Y, I want it to wait 1 second, then change Y again, change Y by -10 or -100 rather, since we chose 100 in the first instance. Okay, now the issue here is the forever block. The forever block is what we need to add to make it make that movement. So I'll add the forever block, and when key space is pressed, change it to space. So green flag. Okay, so it's working now. So the issue was with not adding the forever block, but it's not jumping high enough to overcome that this obstacle that is very high. The first sprite is very tall, so I'm going to change it from 100. Change it from 100. Let me make it 150. 150. So this is the code to make this sprite jump, and the change Y by -150 is the code that makes it fall back to the stage base. Okay, so after adding this code, let's test this to see. Okay, that jump is high enough. We could even reduce it to 120 if we want, but I think I'm fine with this. So the next thing to add here is we want to create a life for it, so that it could have maybe 5 lives or 10 lives, and at the point where it hits the obstacle, it should lose a life. So I'll reduce the zoom level here so that I can add some more code. So the next code to add is our events. When flag is clicked, then we now add the if block. If so, this if block will help us to define in what circumstance, under what circumstance should it lose its life. So we can say that when this sprite, the cat sprite, is touching the obstacle, when it touches the obstacle, it should lose its life. So we can now use sensing. Under sensing, and we use touching. We may use touching color or just this touching mouse pointer, but I think I'll prefer the touching mouse pointer because the color selection could be hard sometimes. So when it's touching sprite 2, when sprite 1 touches sprite 2, then it should lose its life. Now to do that, let's create a life variable. So come to variables and we create a variable. Make a variable. What the variable name? Let's call this life for all sprites. Okay. Now set life to will be at the beginning of our code here. Set life to when the game starts. What do you want to set life to? 5. You can decide to use 10 for yours, but I want 5 for mine. After that, what should happen? So when it touches this, you should change the life by -1. So the life should reduce. Change life by -1, not just 1. -1. And change life by -1. I would want to be able to identify again when it loses its life. So with that, we should add a sound. So let's get the sound variable, the sound block. Play sound. Well, let's just start sound, not play until done. Start sound. We don't want the meow. We want another sound. I want the drum sound. So I'll just click record. I'll go and select drum. Okay, this one doesn't work like that. Exit, and I'll go and select the sound I want. I want a different sound. Add sound here. Choose a sound. Good. Okay, here I'll choose the bass drum. Let me play this to see. Okay, sounds nice. You can choose something else. That loss of life sound, there's always a particular sound that can be used that would be nice. I don't remember now. Okay, let me use this chirp. I like this chirp sound. So come back to my code and come and change this to the chirp sound. There we go. And after that, we want to add, okay, let's test this to see what we have so far, if it's losing its life. So life is 5. I jump over the obstacle. I've touched the obstacle now. It has not lost its life yet. Let's add the forever block. That's always a vital one. Control forever, swallow everything. Yes. But the set life should it shouldn't be setting life every time. We should set life only once when we start the game. So I'll remove the set life from forever block. Do we understand that? It should not be setting life to 5. If we leave the life in the forever block, it means that every point in time the life will get reset to 5 lives, even after it has lost a life or even more lives. So you see that it's working. It's working. I like the sound. Okay, but just on one contact it loses its life more than once. On one contact it loses its life more than once. So let's fix that. To fix that, we'll add the wait command. So wait 1 second. After losing its life, you should wait 1 second. You shouldn't just keep losing life like that on just one contact. So let's see if that fixes it. And start. So 1, very good. The wait solves it. Aha, good. Okay, now we've been able to add our life variable, and we've been able to code this game so that it loses its life given the parameter when it touches sprite 2. The next thing to do here is how the game should stop, how the game should end. How do we end the game? So we use the parameter when flag is clicked. Start with that command when flag is clicked. Forever, don't forget our forever block, very essential. And use the if statement. Okay, so under what condition should this game end? So what I'm thinking is when the life is 0, it should end. Okay, so that makes sense. So we get the operator when something is equal to something. So this equality operator, this is what we need. And over here this box should be life. So we get the variable life and drag it in here. When life is equals to what, 0, the game should end. And the command to end it is the stop all command. So let's go and get the stop all command. Stop all command, and there we go. So let's test this to see if our game would really end when the life is 0. Green flag. So I'll just allow it contact. It ends. Good, very interesting. So as it ends, I would even like it to have a message when it ends. What message should it pass when it ends? To do that, I'll use another event block when flag is clicked. I'll use this same, I'll duplicate this, duplicate and place it here. This is for the stop all. So instead of the action stop all here, I'll use say game over for 3 seconds. So I trash this. Under the loops, say hello for 2 seconds. I change this to say game over. Let me use caps, game over. Okay, for how many seconds? 3 seconds. Good. So let me space my codes. Okay, so this is the new code I added just now, which is when life is equals to 0, it should say what? Game over for 3 seconds. Well, let's check this out. Start, life is 5. He hits the obstacle, life is lost. Life is lost again. Good. Okay. We have 4 groups of codes here, and remaining the final code. This final code would be a code that will indicate scores for this. So with what parameter will we use to indicate scores? I'll zoom out here just to get this code properly arranged. Yes. And the benefit of Scratch 3 is that we can always even scroll up and down to see our codes. So let me space it out properly. Okay, so the next code we are adding will start with the same when flag is clicked. So events, when flag is clicked, we want to create the one that a code that will give scores to this, add scores to this. Let's duplicate this. It's not necessarily that we're going to use everything in this my duplicates. We'll use some things. We need the if block, that's for sure, and we also need the forever block. Yes, but we don't need this, so I'll trash this, and we don't need this, so I'll trash this. Okay, so how do we create score? We create a variable called score, make a variable and call it score, and now click OK. And now at the beginning of the game, when we click the green flag, the score should be set to 0. So set score to 0 at the beginning. Should not be under forever, if not to be changing it to 0 every time. So score to 0. Good. Now, under what condition should the score increase? Definitely it should be rewarded a score when it jumps over an obstacle. So I would say when the key space is pressed. So that will be found under sensing. When key space is pressed, the score should increase by what? So I'd go back to variables, change score by 1. This is showing life, so I'll change this to score. Change score by 1. It's changed score by 1 under the condition that the key space has been pressed. So it means there is that probability that the sprite is going to jump over an obstacle. Okay, let's go ahead and test this code. I can drag score to be on one side, on this side if I want. I'll do it over on this screen. Okay, score, and let's test the green flag. Jump. As I'm jumping, I'm getting my score. My score is increasing. And when I come into contact with any obstacle, there will be a loss of life. So we see the speed of this game is not so fast, so we can call it level 1. A level 2 game will be using the same codes, but then you change the glide speed. We increase the glide speed. How do you increase the glide speed? By decreasing the wait period. Okay, let's see how the game will end, and it says game over. So we're good to go. That's all for our platformer game. Thank you for watching. Make sure you do yours. Bye. Hey, thank you for watching. Kindly hit the subscribe button below to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.